One of the most inspirational stories that you're ever gonna hear is coming up. We've got a real treat for all of the nail professionals today. Trust me, you're gonna want to hear this. Got Will Truong on the podcast right now on the Biz Talk. Our guest today is Will Truong. He is on the Biz Talk today. This is a special episode, one of pure inspiration and overcoming adversity. Greg had brought this story. Will did a TED Talk on his story because it is so amazing. It is so inspirational. I listened to it and I was like, Greg, can we get Will here on the Biz Talk to bring to the beauty professionals, because anybody can use a dose of inspiration. So first of all, Will, thank you for joining us today.
It's an absolute pleasure for me to be here. I appreciate that.
Dude, huge honor for us. I just want to jump right into your story, Will. There's a lot of nail pros that are watching, and I know they're curious. So let's get into this. Please take us through your story. I'll ask you a few questions along the way, but I really want to kind of give you the floor. Take us through your story, please.
Yes, sir. Well, I was born in Vietnam.
Okay.
And my family and I, my mom and father, we immigrated to Southern California when I was 3 months. So I grew up here all my life.
Gotcha.
From the span of 3 months through 6 years old, my sister was born 2 years after me, or a year and a half or so. But we grew up in Southern California by the city of Westminster and Garden Grove area, so a very prominent Vietnamese population. So our culture is concrete. We speak the language, we're fluent. We grew up there and we had a 2-story house, pool in the backyard, everything's all good. And then one day, my dad just decided to, sure, there were signs there, of course, but as a child, you never knew that. So he ups and leaves. He decides to divorce my mother and leaving behind my mom, my sister, and me. And at this time, my mom had absolutely no professional skills, nothing. All she knew how to do was work with her hands. So she worked 3 jobs, and we moved to the other side of town. We slept in the garage, and we lived in the garage, and we slept on the floor.
This is in somebody else's house?
This was a side part of a garage.
Okay.
That was rented out to us illegally.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it was completely illegal.
Gotcha.
So my mom found the means to do that by working 3 jobs while we lived in those conditions. Of course, there was a bath, there was a kitchen kind of there. But from that age, I knew the only way for me to get out was to do something with my life. And at that point in my life, I never knew of an academic scholarship or anything. All I hear was these athletic scholarships that was to give full ride, paid off tuition for college. And that's what I decided to do and take upon myself, was to go at the park literally a block away from my house. And mind you, this park was a bad park. We got gangsters, we got drug addicts, we got people, all kinds of just rolling up in here, just hanging out and essentially making it look really bad. But while I was there, I was being recruited by these gangsters, when I was maybe 8, 9, 10 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, and I would play basketball with them. We would hang out like we're friends, we're hanging out. And they're like, hey, Will, what you doing tonight? And they would say all these things like, oh, come on over. Like, we'll show you. Like, you're our brother in this. I'm like, no, my mom would kick my ass if I was hanging out with you guys. Right? And, of course, they reek of weed and they had guns on them and stuff. I'm like, you know what? My mom taught me better than this. And I couldn't do that to her. So I stayed training for basketball. When I say train, man, I did the best I could with the knowledge I had. And that was just dribbling as best as I can, running around as best I can, doing sprints, layups, shooting from different spots of the court all day and night. And mind you, man, this was like right from after school till like the street lights turned on,
Right.
And that's when I got to get my butt home, otherwise I get in trouble. So given that situation, the scenario that I grew up in that environment, my mom, when I got to middle school, my sister was in 5th grade. My mom was like, you know what? Will, and Amanda's my sister's name. My mom said, Will and Amanda cannot live in a position like this. They're going to grow up and they're going to become gang affiliated. And I saw that coming in and out of my life, of course. You know, we got certain vernacular that I speak, and
Sure.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
So with that, my mom decided to reach out to my dad's side of the family. And of course, they've always been in and out of in our lives to support us in just that familial sense.
Right.
But my mom would ask my dad's younger sister to borrow the address so we can go to school in Yorba Linda, wealthier school district,
Right.
extremely wealthier compared to Garden Grove district where I was at. So my mom did that, and when I got to middle school, I was not doing well in school. Man, I'm telling you, like, my grades slipped. I didn't even train that much for basketball anymore. I just was in a different headspace. And my dad's youngest brother, my uncle, decided to take it upon his hands to tutor me and my sister after school. And during this time, my sister and I experienced physical and verbal abuse, emotionally abuse, telling us we're not good enough, we're stupid, we're worthless. He'll punch me in my mouth. He'll knock me. I'm 12. You know, he knocked me down on my head. He choked me out. He straddled me, full mount, knees on my shoulders, choked me out. And he threw books at my sister's head. He'd do all these things, and it hurt. But at that time, you know, I really did not want my mom to feel worse because she already made so many sacrifices to pull so many strings to get us there. So I just took it. And of course, I told her, hey, Mom, yeah, we got hit today, or I didn't do good. We were disciplined. And that's what I would tell her. And of course, she didn't think it was the severity of that as the degree as it was.
Right.
But my grades eventually got better, and he stopped tutoring us, and we went to high school, and I made the basketball team my freshman year. And I'm telling you, I was ecstatic. But from middle school to freshman year, I gained all this weight. I didn't train as hard. I wasn't at that athletic prime as a kid at that age could have been.
Right.
So I'm telling you, I was 5'10", 220 pounds, and I was fat, you know. So I come in as a freshman. I played basketball. I got on the team. I was benched all season. My everything was just deteriorating. My physical performance was weak. My mindset was weak too, and I just let that eat me up. And that's something I didn't mention in the TED Talk. I tried my absolute hardest. I can't say my best because best is relative, right?
Sure.
But I tried my absolute hardest every single time. At that moment, I thought was the best I could have done. But of course, looking back, I could have almost done more every time. But after that season, I talked to the head basketball coach. I said, hey, coach, I really want to play some football now because, you know, this man pulled me over and he told me I should play football, you know, the campus supervisor. And he's like, well, you're behind the curve anyway. Just go join football. I felt, man, like, dude, did you just tell me I suck? He told me I sucked my face. And
Basically.
I talked to him last year. I was like, coach, you know, I really thank you for telling me that I was behind the curve because, you know, you were being honest enough to let me know that I was not good enough and
Right.
didn't waste my time. But of course, in that little midst of basketball freshman year and that gap of spring freshman year, I was kind of like, man, my life is my identity is over. I don't have basketball. I don't know what to do. And again, the campus supervisor came by. He was like, hey, you know what, dude, join football, man. Like, what are you doing? And I was so scared to ask my mom. I'm telling you, man, my mom raised me. She was like, dude, you play sports, play basketball, play the one that's like not as hard contact as football, you know, because Asian boys don't play football.
We understand that very good. Same thing from our mom. She's like, you guys are not playing football, so I totally get you.
Oh my goodness. So that was that case. And I was like, Mom, please, can I play next year or this upcoming fall? And she was like, no, heck no, dude. Are you crazy? I didn't raise you to get beat up, you know, like throw around like a rag doll. So I convinced her to join track, which was a spring sport. And mind you, the track coach, the throws coach, was also the football coach, specifically for the position that I'll be playing. So I kind of like, you know, lollygagged in there and I threw, and I'm telling you, man, when I sucked, Dude, no athletic bone in my body. I look like just a big old ball of meat just throwing, and it's not going any far in
That's
distance.
insane.
It's whack. So I lift, I get stronger. I get to play football the following year, and I mean, I'm ecstatic. I'm playing JV as a sophomore. I'm throwing kids around. Like, I'm thinking I'm tough, I'm badass. And then I did all that, and then I threw track again, and it's gotten slightly better. But at this point, as a coach, looking back at it, if I was to assess myself, I'm like, yeah, this kid, he has potential, but he hasn't shown that factor where it's like, man, he's got everything that we want. Yeah. So I would tell, I've always had big dreams, and I told this coach, my head coach, I was like, Coach, I want to go far with this. I want to get a scholarship because that's always been my goal, to get out the hood and get that scholarship for my mom and my sister.
Yep.
So I told him, it's like, well, you're not strong enough. You're not big enough. You're not fast enough. You're not good enough, son. Except he didn't say son because he didn't look at me like that, right? I told him that, and he told me, and it hurt me to my core. It rocked me so hard. And because you can tell him, right? I'm getting emotional thinking about it because, man, he said that hurt me. But that also lit a fire within me to drive, to lift harder, to push myself. Man, when I tell you, when I push myself, we train like maniacs after school every day. So for spring season track with that same coach, no, not the same coach who told me I wasn't good. The throws coach was the coach that was like that father figure for me.
Sure.
He was the one that said, you know what? I don't know where you're going to go. It doesn't matter. But if you're going to work hard, you do what you got to do, we'll see where that goes. So I did exactly everything he told. We train, we throw 1.5 hours, go on in, lift for 2 hours. We get out by like 5:30, 6 p.m. sometimes. And I go home and I'll train even more on top of that because I'm like, ain't nobody is going to tell me I'm not good enough. Because I know what I'm capable of. And of course, at that time, it's all relative, but still I was more capable than anyone I've set for me in all my life. My family has been always told me, Will, you're not good enough. You're stupid. You're not smart. Why are you playing sports? And when I go play sports, the coach would be like, Will, you're too small. You're not big enough. You're not strong enough. What's going on here? So I'm like, you know what? How about you guys not tell me how to live my life? I'm going to do what I can with it, the best way I can with it, knowing the only things I know how was hard work. And from whom do I see that from? My mom. My mom will come home exhausted, her back broken after those 3 jobs just to cook a meal for me and my sister. So at these moments when I'm training hard, I'm digging deep, I'm thinking back these moments, my mom doing all these things for my sister and me. And it gave me that power. It gave me that strength to push myself harder, to dig deeper and go further for when I thought I was tired.
Really quick, just what's really interesting, Will, is to do that at that young of an age and to do it consistently every single day, to push and to have that fire is insanely difficult. And for you to muster up every single day, to fire it up every single day, to me, I see that, I'm just like, amazing. It's really incredible. Anyway, I just wanted to kind of like just point that out, as I recognize how, at this point in your story, just to fire it up every single day, like the motivation that you had to like muster up, that's incredibly impressive at the age.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Please continue, man.
Thank you so much for letting me know that. And that makes me feel warm because I didn't hear that.
Yeah.
Then.
Yeah.
But given that that motivation that I had within, I continue to push. I pushed through junior year, okay, no phone calls. I pushed through senior year after football season. I did the best season, stand out. I got all league. I got these titles. I set the school record for the clean. I had all these athletic achievements and accolades. And I'm like, where's my offer, man?
Right.
Where's my full ride? And then in the middle of track season, my senior year, so mind you, there's only a few months left before graduation, I get a phone call from West Point. And they said, Will, we want you to come out here in New York to play football and throw in track for us, son.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
West Point.
West Point.
One of the most difficult. It's just insane, man. That's incredible, bro.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And of course, at that time I was like, what's West Point? Like, oh, what, you offering me full ride? I'm going, immediately. I didn't care who it was. What, you give me full, I'm going. And mind you, it was D1. So I'm like, okay, we're playing Division I football. The dream. That's the golden ticket.
It's huge.
That was everything that I've been looking for since the time I was 7, living in that garage, sleeping on the floor, through all that training and all that, what do you call that? I don't call it suffering because it's battling. I battled through all the struggles, whether it was emotionally, physically, or verbally. I battled through, and that dream came true, y'all. And it happened. And, I threw, this was just before the state meet for track. So I got into the state meet for track. I threw shot put, and I threw the best throw of my life, and I got 3rd place in the state of California.
Unbelievable, bro. That's ridiculous.
Thank you so much. And man, I'm telling you, at that time in my life, I was at my athletic peak. I was at the top of the mountain that I ever thought I could have climbed. I was up there, and this was, a few days before graduation, but specifically 2 days after the state meet and 3 days before high school graduation, I decided to attempt a backflip on a trampoline. I went up, and I landed on the back of my head, and my forehead touched my chest, and I heard a snap. And immediately, I'm telling you, my body seized. And it just slowly sank uncontrollably into the trampoline. And I laid there, and I felt as if all the breath was literally snatched out of my body. I'm telling you, I couldn't even gasp for breath because I had no motor ability to breathe. I was...
Would you go unconscious at all?
I was awake the whole time. I couldn't breathe. All I could do was lay there and look at the gray sky that day. And I lay there, and a few minutes go by. I'm telling you, I did not take a breath. And within my mind, I'm like, okay, Will, you're okay, man. Surely this hasn't changed the course of your life. You'll be all right. You'll be all right. My friend comes out. She's like, hey, Will, it's time to go. We gotta, we were planning to go to the beach that day. We gotta go, dude. And I couldn't move, and I couldn't breathe, and I couldn't even articulate to her that I couldn't. I was hurt. And she reached towards me. Something just triggered her. I was like, hey, don't touch me. Without moving, I'm just laying there. I'm like, I'm hurt. And she thought I was joking, and she reached a little bit further. And I said, don't touch me. I'm hurt. Call the ambulance. No, wait, call my mom. So we called my mom. My mom thought I was joking too. And I'm like, I'm desperately trying to convince them that I'm hurt. And next thing you know, the ambulance shows up, and I'm literally in and out. Each blink I take is a different place. I blink, I'm getting on they're sliding a gurney under me. I blink, I'm in the ambulance. I blink, I'm getting an MRI. And the pain, when I tell you, man, the pain from my neck down through the tips of my fingers and toes, I felt as if I was being stabbed by millions of needles on the surface, as a hot frying pan was searing the surface of my skin. From my neck through the tips of my fingers and toes, and I could not shake it off. It felt like you're numb, right?
Yeah.
You're sitting your legs like, oh, I'm numb. I got to shake it out. Nope.
There's no shaking it out.
No shaking, because I couldn't even move. So I lay there. I dealt with that pain, and it would render me unconscious when I was laying on the hospital bed. And this was in and out just before surgery. But also just before surgery, I was placed in a halo traction device. So the doctor had to drill into the side of my head. And with every turn of the drill, there's no pain medication. Every turn of that drill, I'm telling you, I could feel the screw carving deeper into my head. And just both sides. I'm telling you, he did this side normal. He went in this side. He looked at me straight on. He's like, dude, that's crooked. He took out this side, and he went again like 2 millimeters over. God. And the pain was so unbearable, it made me pass out, man. I was unconscious from the pain. I wake back up to just relive that sensation. And ultimately, just that living painful hell. But I'm telling you, what hurt me most was laying on that hospital bed as I'm looking at that the white hole punch ceiling. And out of the corner of my eye, I could see my mom, my sister at the bedside. And they were looking at me with tears in their eyes, and I just felt like I failed them. I felt like everything that I did that was meant for them was in vain. It was worthless. And all the negativity that I faced in that adolescence period of my life, it came back full floodgates, opened up, and it made me feel like, man, you're worthless. You ain't nothing. You're stupid. Of course you're not good enough. And I'm telling you this, I didn't want to, I never ever, just before I ever had this accident, I always said, man, if I was paralyzed, just kill me. I'm worthless. And at that moment, I had that thought. But I couldn't even do nothing because I was paralyzed. So I couldn't even take my own life if I wanted to.
From the neck down.
From the neck down.
You were paralyzed.
Paralyzed. Nothing. I'm just laying there, and it's like you could see your hand.
Yeah.
You're looking at it like this because I'm in a neck brace. I'm looking down at my fingers. I'm like, move, hand, move. And it's
nothing.
Lifeless. And within the span of a couple days, I was 250 at that time, 250 pounds. And I lost 40 pounds like this. I was a skeleton of everything that I was. I lost all the muscle, everything that I had in terms of strength was all gone. And of course, with that mindset of just, man, like, why me, right?
Sure.
I'm laying there. I'm like, dude, your life is worthless. Why me? I'm crying. I'm looking at the skies like, what's going on here? And then something just triggered in me. And whether it was spiritually, whether it was with all the support that I saw around me, it triggered in me. And just think to myself, you know what, Will? Okay, what can you do with your life now? Given the situation that you're paralyzed, even if you will be paralyzed for the rest of your life, what are you going to do right now? Are you going to keep crying about your life? Keep feeling sorry for yourself? Or are you going to try and do something about it? Sure, if you can't move, you can't move. But what are you going to be satisfied with not moving? Or are you going to continue to push yourself to try to move? And with that mindset, that shift of my mindset, I said the next day, I said, Will, move your finger. And then I lifted my hand and I just moved my hand like this. And then I lifted my arms. And then I lifted up my left leg, and then I get transferred to a rehab center out in Pomona. And at that rehab center, it was, man, I'm telling you, the state-of-the-art facilities. They did everything in their power to get me where I needed to be.
What did the doctors tell you, Will? Like, what was their assessment of your condition and your situation?
So right after surgery, with all this swelling in my neck, still being paralyzed, the doctor, before the doctor even said anything, I say, Doc, tell me what's up. Am I gonna be able to walk again? You know, half conscious. I asked him, can I walk again? He took a deep breath. He says, have faith. And man, I'm telling you, the immediate stream of river coming from my eyes, it's just, I didn't want to hear that.
Right.
But I understood also, you know, he can't make any guarantees. But then on the flip side of that, or when I passed out, my eyes were closed, my ears were open. He told my mom and sister to be prepared that he'd be paralyzed for the rest of his life. And at that age, it's like, dude, I was everything. I had everything I had in the palm of my hand, and then now I'm at the lowest valley that I couldn't have even imagined of.
You went, you struggled, you've had a life of struggle that you had to overcome, all that adversity, all these people telling you. You get to a peak, bro, of West Point, Division I athletics, which is, I don't know if people understand how insane that is. Me, a fan of sports, that is an incredible accomplishment, especially where you came from and what you dealt with. And then this happens to you. And like you said, now it's like you hit the reset button almost. Like, I got to start again.
Literally. And the hard part from that too, not only starting again, but knowing that not only you have to start again, but you have to start again with learning how to move like a baby.
Bro.
And I get transferred to that rehab center, and they put me through a battery of assessments and physical therapy, occupational therapy. I mean, I'm telling you, when I trained, it was 2 times a day. It was a consistent hell week for 31 days. And I don't know if people are familiar with what Hell Week is. Mm-hmm. Hell Week is that 1 week where you train twice for sports, but Hell Week for military is different terms. But even then, it's It's constant punch you in your mouth.
That's right.
It's see how tough you really are type training. And I would train twice a day, wake up at 6 a.m., train for 2 hours, lunch, afternoon session. And they taught me how to lift my arms, move my fingertips, lift my knees, do all these things from beginning through end. And I'm telling you, man, this type of training it eclipsed all of the titles and records and all the strength that I had to achieve the records I had. Incomparable.
Right.
Learning how to move again was absolutely incomparable. Like sitting like this takes up so much core energy just to maintain proper body position like this. To hold a pencil, use so much fine motor in your hand just so you could clasp your hand like this. And then after 40 days from beginning through end, from the time out of surgery or from the time of accident, 40 days was the length of my recovery to be discharged from the hospital. And they call me the walking miracle. And when I'm telling you, man, I'm so blessed to literally be sitting here and moving and doing all the things that I do today.
You walked out of the hospital.
I walked out of the hospital, with nothing but a neck brace on.
So this is like, I can't even, when I think about like, what's difficult in life, right? My gauge of what's difficult in life. Mm-hmm. When I hear your story, it makes me realize I don't know what real, true adversity and difficulty is, what you went through. And I want to hear more, obviously, about from that point on, but just those 40 days, that is a different kind of like survival instinct, what you have to mentally push yourself, how you have to, especially when medical professionals are telling you may not ever move again. Mm-hmm. To battle that takes some special mental strength on your part. But please continue your story, bro. This is incredible.
And we talk about a mental strength, and I have to credit that to all the adversities and struggles that I and my sister had to battle through from our young age. That really prepared us, although not very orthodox, right? It's very unorthodox how we were raised and we grew up in that environment and overcoming those certain struggles of physical and verbal abuse. And it conditioned me to push through that adversity. Therefore, when I was told, you can't walk again, Will, or you can only get this much back or that much back, and they're dealing with finites. Well, I've never been a finite person. So because of that, and no one is a finite person. They're only dealing based off a precedent, what they see from the past. So it's nothing. Everything is a working theory until proven wrong. So I could have been that proven wrong. Anyone can be that proven wrong, right? So from that, I got out, and West Point held they honored my scholarship for another 2 years. And which was, wow, it was like amazing. They would make that exception for me. But still, I was so weak and feeble even after being discharged from the hospital. I was still a skeleton. And I wasn't sure, no one was sure if I would be able to still climb mountains, run that much, do that many push-ups and sit-ups and shoot guns and do all these things. And so during the end of my time at the hospital, my high school counselor signed me up for community college at Fullerton College. So I went to community college the following semester, and I missed all the deadlines to get classes, so I had to crash all my classes. I crashed those classes, and I went through, and I started to discover how much I fell in love with the human body. Man, like, given the position where I was literally paralyzed till walking again and doing all these things, it just gave me another being grateful for movement. So I took all these other movement classes. I learned anatomy and physiology, and I was even pre-med for a bit.
It's awesome.
I went through, I was like, man, I want to be a doctor. I want to help all these people. And then it wasn't really aligned to my goal, which was, then I found out that I love to teach. I love to move. So I got my degree in PE. And I'm currently student teaching at my alma mater high school at Esperanza as a PE teacher. But what arose from this whole span of from during my college time was, okay, what can I do to give back? So I decided to build a brand. It's called Empowered by Will.
Yep.
After like 2 name changes, of course, with any business, right?
Totally
that name was taken, dang it. So I came up with Empowered by Will, which has officially become a trademark back in August. And I'm so proud to announce that Empowered by Will is a community, or I'm building as a community to promote that mental toughness of having 3 core values. And throughout my whole life, and after reflection, I found out there are 3 core values that were the driving factors of my life. First is pride in who you are and what you do, because that serves as the foundation of your being and why you do what you do. Secondly is courage, because we always have fears in this life, no matter it's fear of failure, fear itself, fear of judgment, whatever it may be, we have fears. So for us to have that courage to face those fears, that fear no longer controls us. It no longer dictates our actions or control what we do.
Totally.
So when we have that courage, it helps us. So we have to have courage to face our fears. And then that's the second value. And the third value is strength. So when you have pride in what you do and who you are, you have the courage to face your fears, you will develop this strength to overcome your adversity, because that strength is found through adversity itself. So when you have those 2 values, it gives you that strength to overcome the adversity that's at hand.
I want to ask you, Will, first of all, I love that. I love those core values and what it stands for. For somebody that's like, you've obviously been through struggle. There's just, you've been through a lot of it. Okay. At your young age, you have experienced more than, what most people would ever in a lifetime. Right. For somebody that is going through like really tough times right now, in our community, we have nail professionals that they're expected to build something out of nothing, without much experience in anything, and they struggle. And we hear about it. They DM us and tell us like they're having a hard time. They're trying to pay bills, man. They're trying to support their family. What are some of the things that helped you during your struggle that like just got you through on that day to day? Like what were you were talking to yourself? What were those things that maybe you can pass on to our audience?
Most definitely. And one of the main things that I did every night before I went to sleep was to remind myself, or before I went to sleep, in the moment I woke up, is to remind myself what the final goal was. And how I did that too was I would have these printouts and cutouts of athletes that I looked up to. So maybe if you look up to someone maybe in this how would you, this nail industry?
Nail industry, yeah, exactly.
In this nail industry, you look up to somebody, have that visual right beside your bed or somewhere that you can put up and you can look at and remind yourself what you're working towards every day. I did that with athletes. I did that with motivational quotes that I put up. But I'm telling you, I did a whole on mood board without even knowing I did a mood board.
I love it, dude.
And it's just sort of keep reminding you. And in the midst of struggle, it presents opportunity to be creative, to do things differently. In the midst of struggle, it gives you an opportunity to be resourceful with what you have, work with what you have. Because at that moment, for myself, I didn't have all the weights. I didn't have a 5-star gym facility. So what I did was I found some cinder blocks. I curled cinder blocks. I pushed cinder blocks. I ran down the street. I made sure I did whatever I could on my own time, given whatever I had.
No excuses, right?
No excuses.
You made it work with whatever the situation was for yourself.
Most
you made
definitely.
It work.
Mm-hmm.
That is unbelievable, incredible story. I'm going to put the link also below for the TED Talk for Will. I would encourage everybody, go check this out. Also, his brand. Do you have a website, Will?
Yes, sir. It's
okay.
empoweredbywill.com.
Perfect.
And it's an apparel brand that I'm building. It's a motivational brand, but for you to really feel proud about what you wear as a symbol, the trident itself represents pride, courage and strength. And that's
Love
why
it.
I became more, it's a couple of motivational and apparel brand.
Perfect. We're going to put that website also. Please head over there, check it out. Get yourself some of the Empowered by Will merch. Will, I cannot thank you enough. This is going to be really big for a lot of people out there that need to hear your story to get them through. Thank you so much, bro, for being here today.
It's an absolute honor. I'm so grateful to be here, and I appreciate both of you for asking me.
Absolutely, brother. Thank you, guys. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you next time on the Biz Talk.